Based on a question in the comment section on my Shiranui deck build, inquiring what type of support I think would put them at Tier 1, I felt it was appropriate to have another Create a Card discussion encapsulating the 2 new Shiranui cards that I would create to accomplish this feat, as well as 2 new cards for another rather new archetype to help them evolve into a higher quality deck and better capture the appropriate tempo and theme of the archetype, which I think their current support somewhat misses on. First, what type of new support would I give Kaijus? The first card is Kaiju Destruction Amalgamation. Continuous spell. If a Kaiju monster destroys a non-token monster by battle, place 2 Kaiju counters on this card. During either player's main phase, you can remove 1 Kaiju counter from this card to special summon 1 Rubble token, Earth, Rock, level 1, 0 attack, 1000 defense, in defense position to the opponent's field. Rubble tokens cannot be tributed. If a Rubble token is destroyed by battle, select one of the following effects. Draw 1 card, add 1 Kaiju counter to an appropriate card on the field. During your end phase, remove 1 Rubble token from the field. I like the design of this card for 2 reasons. First, it fits the theatrical theme of the Kaiju archetype, with the power of the Kaiju monsters creating collateral damage and destruction of the surrounding environment. Note also that it's just not your Kaiju monsters that are activating this effect, it's Kaiju monsters in general, so the Kaiju monster you give your opponent also puts those counters on. Second, it helps manage one of the biggest weaknesses of a pure Kaiju build, the capacity of the opponent to swarm the field. For while Kaijus can handle any monster that can be tributed, it only does so one at a time due to its summoning restriction. So decks that swarm, especially pendulum decks, just wreak havoc against pure Kaiju builds. The creation of Rubble tokens on the opponent's field that have limited usefulness help limit the swarming capacity of the opponent. The destruction of Rubble tokens provide a nice secondary advantage for the Kaiju player. There are some players that might ask, why don't you take the draw all the time? Well, obviously, they're seasoned Kaiju players. They know that certain cards have certain benefits for reaching certain counter thresholds, and you might be 1 counter away from that threshold and find that activating that effect to be more beneficial, rather than just take the random 1 card draw. Finally, the removal effect is also for theme in a sense, as the opponent is periodically cleaning up the destruction that the Kaijus. The second card, Petrifying Fear, Power of the Kaiju. Continuous Trap. This card's effect can only be activated when you control a Kaiju monster. Once per turn, during either player's turn, select one of the following effects. If the opponent summons a non-Kaiju monster or activates a spell or trap card, negate its effect and flip it face down. If the opponent sets a card, destroy that card. One of the theme elements I find basically completely missing from the Kaiju archetype right now is the raw fear that the presence of a Kaiju monster should generate on the environment and its populace. This card attempts to address that issue by emulating the fear ability by forcing the delay of activated effects due to trepidation and the outright destruction of more passive or timid effects that have to quote-unquote set up. Obviously, the only type of monster that should evade the aura of the Kaiju is another Kaiju monster. For the Shiranui monsters, in my opinion, the best thing Konami can do is just give the Shiranui archetype more quality main deck monsters, because right now, the archetype only has 5 main deck monsters, and even then, Smith is almost worthless as it stands right now, and while the rest of them have their uses, their archetype-specific niche, getting effects when banished, is of questionable value. For example, Samurai's banish effect is used once in a blue moon. The usefulness of Solitaire's banish effect is heavily restricted due to the lack of quality options to target with it, and Spectral Sword is too slow despite being high quality. So without any real testing, obviously, the 2 new main deck monsters I would give Shiranui are as followed. The first monster, Shiranui Strategist. Fire, Zombie, level 4, 1400 attack, 0 defense. Once per turn during either player's turn, if a monster effect is activated, you can discard this card from your hand to draw 1 card, then banish 1 Shiranui monster from your deck or graveyard. Once per turn during your main phase 1, you can banish this card from your graveyard. If this card is banished, you can select one zombie monster on your field. The selected monster is treated as a tuner until your next end phase. If the selected monster is used in a synchro summons as a tuner, you can add one banished Shiranui strategist to your hand. This card almost immediately fixes one of Shiranui's biggest problems right now, the ability to consistently banish a Shiranui monster during the opponent's turn to create versatility and benefit from the wide variety of possible current and future effects for the archetype. Right now, only Swallow and few generic cards like Burial from a Different Dimension can achieve this result. Unfortunately, Swallow does have a specific purpose, limiting its overall usefulness, and Burial is limited to 1 and has questionable consistency. Strategist handles these issues quite well, while breaking even thanks to the draw. The fact that you can activate its effect in response to the activation of any monster effect, not just an opponent's monster effect, also allows it to work during the Shiranui's player's turn to increase combo plays. The banish effect is also rather useful, producing significant versatility in making synchro plays rather than basically relying almost entirely on Unizombie, and helps recycle Strategist for more playmaking. Overall, I feel Strategist is definitely a powerful card that actually could see in the future some time on the ban list, but I don't think it's broken. The second card is Shiranui Mystic. Fire, Zombie, level 4, 1700 attack, 0 defense. If this card is summoned, you can discard one zombie monster from your hand to add one Shiranui card from your deck to your hand. If this card is banished, until your opponent's next end phase, if the opponent activates a spell or trap card effect, you can special summon one Shiranui Ghost token, Fire, Zombie, level 1, 0 attack, 0 defense, to your field. These tokens cannot be tributed for a tribute summons. When a Shiranui Ghost token is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can select one of the following effects. Banish one monster in your graveyard, lower the attack of one monster on your opponent's field by 500. Mystic works on many levels to help the Shiranui archetype. The search effect significantly helps the speed of the deck by unclogging brick hands by grabbing a Solitaire, Strategist, Chief Priest, Swallow, or even a Samsara, and also heavily benefits combo plays due to the lack of a once per turn condition. Granted, this is one of the things I'm most concerned about, that playtesting might lead one to say, oh, we need to redesign this to have a once per turn on this search effect. The Banish effect provides some level of meat shield defense in addition to working with Strategist's Banish effect during your next turn, for if any tokens survive, they can be used in a synchro summons either as material or as a tuner, or be tributed for Swallow's effect. Overall, would these two cards make Shiranui top tier? I'm not sure, but they would significantly benefit the archetype. Well, that is my theorized new support for both Kaijus and Shiranui. Thank you for your attention and your time. I'm out.